Challenge is going down to Viejas tomorrow.
Well, it's like pull up the tape from tons of the road trips we went on. This league, the places you get to play are amazing, and such a great team, such a good coach and good culture, and so it's a huge challenge to get a win there. As you see that nobody's done it this year, and they've their numbers at home they jump off the page at you. It's pretty impressive.
I don't know if you're looking at the seedings and all this. There's a decent chance you could play them again in the first game of the tournament.
There's so many moving parts. We haven't even looked ahead at that. I'm sure the guys know all the scenarios, but again, we've got one game. That's it. And we'll regroup for the next one, see who that is. But that's just the way we approach it.
Behind the scenes and at practice and working with these guys, how have they responded? I mean, they were a little flat the other night, and it seems like this is a very resilient team. So how have you seen them respond to the Nevada game?
The funny thing is, I'm not sure we were a little flat when I watched the tape because, you feel that way when you don't make shots. And I watched that game, and then I switched right over to our game against San Diego State, and you're like, well, I didn't see much different. Maybe there was a little bit, but when you hold a team to 0 offensive rebounds, 0, I don't think I've ever seen that before. You're working pretty hard. So you can't get that stat done if you're kind of running in mud, or whether you would call it flat or not. Because, when I walked out of here, maybe I thought that, but that's the value of watching the tape and understanding. I think it might have maybe been a case of the other way where maybe a little too amped up. It's a fine line. If those guys wanted to win that senior day, and when the shots didn't go, I think that's where maybe we let the frustration get into us a little, just too much. And it'd be one thing if our shots weren't going and theirs weren't, then it's just a rock fight and you can survive it. But it was just the opposite. Ours weren't going, theirs were. And as coaches, we analyze and tear it apart and look at it. And when the shots are going, you feel pretty good about everything, whether you ran good offense or not. Hey, the shot went. Or you run good offense, and it's like we always joke, it's operation success and the patient dies. I think it was some of that, but there's always things you can do better, and but I think it was more of a case. I mean, we didn't come out and not give effort, because you can't do what we did on the glass if you didn't give effort, and so that's the thing that jumped out at me. But we just, the beauty of it is sun came out, and you get another chance with these guys, and I appreciate that because I love these guys. These guys love each other, and we don't have issues on this team. The issue is we all cared too much, probably tried too hard. So that's a good issue to have.
To still be, for going into your final game alive for a conference championship.
Yeah.
What's that say about this team and this league?
Exactly, and it's perspective too. If you would have told me, when we were 3-3 or whatever we were, like, okay, you're going to be playing San Diego State. I said, that's the way we want it. We'll take it. I don't care what the circumstances are to get it. And that's the approach we have to have. Now, is it easy? Heck no. But winning a league title, especially, you're talking about, I've heard it over and over again, it's the best the league's ever been, and look where we are. So, that's a great position to be in. And, and that's what when the league is that good, in the old days, these losses felt so devastating, and because they were kind of end-alls almost, when you're on the bubble, all this other thing. The league's different now. It's, you watch these Big 12 teams, lost, they go on to the next one, lost, they go on to, there's a top 20 team in that league that's 9-9 in league. Well, they have to recover from losses, 9-9. And so you just have to get your mind right about that. You watch a team that goes and gets beat by 30 at Texas Tech. Well, they have to bounce back and beat another good team or play another. So when you're in a good league, those are that's the mindset you have to be a little more comfortable about, and instead of like, oh, we have to be absolutely perfect every single night, which is unrealistic, and makes you play and feel a tightness about you that you don't want to have.
With it being out of your hand, how much is the league title still kind of a focus?
Well, we control what we can control. The other part is, but that's our whole focus. Just control what we can control. Let the fur fly, see where Sarah falls.
Ken, you said after the game, like you did feel like the deepest the league has ever been, and you've had a really good look at everybody almost twice now. As you do kind of go back and you consider, like, where do you think this has gotten better? I mean, we're entering the final game. There are 5 teams that could potentially have a shot at being co-champs right now.
Yeah. What's the
So
question?
where do you feel like the league has elevated, gotten better? Is it talent? Is it players?
Yeah,
Is it coaching? Is it
because I've always said great coaching's been in this league, and that's been no doubt about it. I mean, you look at all these Hall of Fame guys that when I first got in the league, everywhere I looked, there was a Hall of Famer everywhere, and there's always been great talent, okay, and there's always been great venues, and now I think the biggest difference is the age of our talent. That's the biggest difference, and specifically the point guard position. You look all throughout the league, and really us and UNLV are the ones with a young point guard. I mean, New Mexico has 3 point guards basically, and 2 of them are old, and so I think that jumps out at me is there's just a little more age because of the COVID and the extra years and the transfer portal, all that stuff. So you got these old veteran teams that just know how to play. And that's everything in college basketball, really.
What makes San Diego State so tough to play against?
Well, it's nothing's changed with their program. It's the culture, it's the defense, and you look at us and them. I mean, this is 3 years in a row for us as being in the top 30. That's been a cornerstone of their program, and in their defense, their rebounding, their toughness, and winning culture. That's pretty simple.
How do you prevent one of those stretches against San Diego State? Like, you look at their Colorado State game, they're down by like 20,
Right.
and then they decided to stop letting Colorado State score. And
Yeah.
even against UNLV, I mean, they're down 27 to 10, and then like a couple minutes later, it's almost a tie game.
Yeah.
How do they create those stretches or runs?
Just because they are elite defensively, and they can do that. They can shut off your water, and they've done that over and over again to people. And you just gotta, they're gonna do it at some point. You just gotta somehow limit the stretch, limit the length of that stretch, but maybe be able to guard them a little bit too, and so they don't go on a 20-0 run, and maybe you can keep it at 6 or 8, or and in some of those rock fights, they were exactly what we talked about, where hey, we didn't make a shot a couple years ago down there and won 42-37 because they weren't making shots either because we were guarding. So that's how you gotta somehow do that.
The physicality of what you faced against Nevada, I mean, you're going to face a lot of that over these next 6 weeks or however long
Right.
they go. And was that a good thing? I mean, I think somebody said something about you expected that from Nevada, then they came out and were very, very physical.
Yeah,
That's not
and I think part of that too is we have a reputation for being that. So when you have that reputation, they're going to be amped up. And you think back to Alford's press conference. What did he say? He said we got out toughed. Well, those guys probably had to hear about that for a long time, and and that's this league though. They're tough, physical, athletic teams, and and we've been right there in that mix. I mean, we're one of the best rebounding teams in the country, #1 in defensive rebounding. Think about that. And so we're doing some good stuff, toughness-wise, and but in the end, it's a zero-sum game. You got to score points too.
You haven't had very many 2-game losing streaks. I mean, you guys have responded pretty well after you lost a game. Well, what is it about this group that when there's some adversity and coming off a loss, whatever, for the most part, this team has played really well?
I think it always goes back to the character of these guys and the staff, and my policy's always been that you just don't get too high and don't get too low, and but there is a recovery to both wins and losses, and it can be hard, and you underestimate how hard it is to recover from big wins, and I think that New Mexico game was a big win. So, now you got to recover again, and that's the teams that are left standing can have the ability to do that.
I know it's all about all the team and all the parts of the team, but Tyson being the ultimate competitor and the ultimate teammate, how much more do you need to rely on him over these next few weeks? Because
he just always steps up, and he always steps up in all the right ways, the way he communicates and the way he leads. The other day he was out of practice and it got quiet. You take a guy like that because he's a vocal one. I mean, we got other leaders, but he's so vocal, and so you absolutely rely on that. But all the parts, they all kind of, at this time of the year, they've all kind of settled into what they are, who they are, and their role. and that's a big part of his role. Maybe the most important part is his leadership and that he provides, and the basketball stuff is just that's Tyson being Tyson.
Jaden Ledee is so physical, and you go back and you look at that first matchup. You guys did a pretty good job against him, and Omar. I mean, you could argue it's 17 points, 3 of 3 from 3. I just to have a guy like Omar available, to go against Jaden. How much?
Well, it's not going to be Omar and Jaden.
I get
It's
it,
got to
yeah.
be the team, and because you can't stop that guy with one guy. So, I mean, our team has to be dialed into how we can all contribute in that aspect.